What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into the final issue of Aquaman The Becoming. This will be issue number 6 of 6, and it is the prelude to Aquamen. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with everything going on with Aquaman The Becoming, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is going to get you completely caught up on everything going on with this series. And so far, what we have seen during this line is that Jackson Hyde, he has a sister. She has been living in Zebul working for the rebellion. And him and his sister, they have learned some awful truths about the people that they call mother, undigging some of the worst things to ever happen down in these kingdoms. They are now racing against the clock to stop the next big terrorist attack. Be sure to buy the comics, support the industry, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so this is going to lead directly into the new series referred to as Aquamen, with the story picking us up in Zebul, and it throws us directly into the fray, with Jackson Hyde, his mother, and his sister all battling against the rebel forces, the ones that came here this day to do this terrorist attack. Them coming in at the last minute to save the day. The entirety of this story is going to be covering the battle and the aftermath. But throughout the battle, we're gonna get some small flashbacks. And while this battle is taking place, they are looking for Queen Mera. She has been the main target for this entire attack. And so as they race against the clock to find Mera and save her life, Jackson is thrown back to a memory, one of his earliest memories, when he was sitting there with Aquaman, Mera, and Andy. And Aqualad, what he is currently thinking and talking to Aquaman about is about how Andy almost got hurt. And he wasn't there. He wasn't able to do anything, just barely coming in at the last minute. Now Aquaman, he is not concerned, letting him know that these things happen. And the truth of the matter is Andy is fine. She wasn't hurt, nothing happened to her. And the reason that this bothers Jackson so much is because of who his father is. He is trying so desperately to prove to the world that he is not Black Manta, and also believing that Aquaman, he just doesn't understand. Because while he is Aquaman, the world may never see him like that. They may never call him Aquaman. And for Arthur, he says, why the heck not? Why can't you be Aquaman? And also reminds him, like, what the heck do you think we are doing here? Why do you think I am training you? Why do you think I am preparing you? I am molding you into the Aquaman that the world is going to need. Because Aquaman, he understands the true nature of things. They are not always going to be there for Andy. And until she comes into her true power, until she can really find her abilities and be able to properly defend herself, she is going to need somebody. The world is going to need somebody. And so why can't that somebody be Jackson Hyde? But with our battle continuing on, Jackson and his mother, they are racing as fast as they can to try to save Mera. Jackson just hoping that he can make it there in time, not wanting to let down himself, Aquaman, or all of Atlantis. This is where we are shown Delilah arguing with Mika, the woman that she has called mother ever since the early days of the rebellion. And after learning all of the truth, after learning everything that the rebellion has done to its own people, all of these terrorist attacks, all of these civilian lives that have been lost in the name of this cause, Delilah is no longer going to stand idly by and watch these atrocities happen, demanding that Mera be freed. Now, of course, Mika, she doesn't want to do this. They don't want to let Mera do her speech. And for Mera, she has been thinking about not doing it from the very beginning. Before Arthur had taken off to Mars, they had sat down and they had had a conversation. And Mera, she had thought to herself, maybe not to do this. Maybe not to accept the invitation to Zebul and do this speech. Because this Unity conference, it could be very dangerous. But Arthur lets her know that she has to do it because of how important this moment is for both of the kingdoms. To have this unity, it is an absolute necessity that you be there regardless of the stakes at hand. But when she was addressing the two kingdoms, she was attacked by the Zebel Rebellion. Lucky for them, this is when Jackson and his mother, they showed up on site. With the two of them dropping in, they start hurting some rebel forces. But in the midst of this battle, we see Jackson's mother. She takes a mace to the freaking back, knocking her down to the ground, bleeding from her face, her body broken and bruised. Jackson, all he sees is red. And with this rage, with this anger, he lets it all out on this rebel, beating this guy down to a bloody pulp, barely left alive, barely any life in this man. This is where we have the arrival of Aquaman, returning as soon as he possibly could. But he is a little late to the party, because Aqualad, he is already dispatched of this entire freaking rebellion. And this is where we see a whole different side of Jackson. After witnessing his mother get hurt in all of this, we see a much more angry version of him, letting Mera and Aquaman know that Mera needs to continue her unity speech, and he is going to rush his mother over to the Atlantis healers. And with him making it over to them just in time, they are able to put her in some kind of stasis, but she is not looking to be in good shape whatsoever. And for Jackson, this is one of the hardest things that he has ever had to face. And in the face of this tragedy, we have Mera. She is able to give her unity speech. The speech that they fought so hard for. The speech that he almost lost his mother for. And Mera lets it be known that this day will be a day of change. That they will change their worlds and they will change the future for the children. And with this speech, we pick up with Jackson Hyde. He is at the well, the training facility that him and Aquaman have spent so much time in. And with him about to go into the simulation, Aquaman shows up to try to have a conversation with him. And though Jackson really doesn't want to have this conversation, Aquaman pushes this subject. And Jackson, he's just feeling guilty for so many things. Because now there are people out there that are calling him the Aquaman. And he even apologizes to Arthur for this. Because he's not trying to take his title. He is not trying to be the Aquaman. In fact, he feels like he doesn't deserve that title. And Arthur tries to remind him that they have talked about this. This is everything that they have been working for the people of Atlantis and Zebel to recognize him as one of their own, to recognize him as the Aquaman, a beacon of hope for both of their people. And he also lets him know that if you are ready to say you are Aquaman, it is nothing more than a title. I am more than willing to say that you are Aquaman, to call you Aquaman. I can be Aquaman, you can be Aquaman. It doesn't have to be a one-person title. But with Jackson not wanting to continue this conversation anymore, he dives into the well. And so, picking us up a little bit later, he goes to visit his mother. And right now, she is surrounded by people really wanting to give their thanks. Thanking her for the sacrifice that she had done. While she is still technically in almost a coma, Jackson, he kicks everybody out. And right now, he is just beating himself up, blaming everyone to include himself for the state of his mother. Most over because he blames himself for believing everything that Mika had told them. He was turned against his own mother. And while Delilah, she feels this pain just as much as him, he wants nothing more than to have some solitude. And so what we are seeing is Jackson Hyde. He is in one of the worst states that he has ever been in, because he doesn't like being this angry person. He doesn't like blaming everyone around him for the things that have happened. He also doesn't like feeling like this about himself. And sitting there talking to his mother, though she is not responsive, he tells her that he is sorry, that he can do better, that he will do better. And that is what's going to take us to Iceland. Aquaman recognizing that there is something more that needs to be done about Jackson Hyde. He goes to the one person that might be able to help. He goes to Jackson Hyde's father. aka Black Manta. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think this was a very powerful ending that's going to lead us into Aquaman. Because while our heroes, they did save the day, Jackson cannot help but feel this tremendous amount of guilt for letting his mother get hurt, for being tricked by the Zebel Rebellion, for being called Aquaman when he never asked for it. And I really like the fact that Aquaman had gone to Black Manta, because at the end of the day, that is Jackson's father. Regardless of how anybody thinks of him, to include Aquaman, a kid needs his dad at some point in time, if not for anything else than to let him know that you are better than me, because that is what every father strives for their children to be better than them, to take all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses. And I think that's exactly what Aquaman has come to talk to Black Manta about, letting him know that you need to go have a talk with your son. You need to let him know that he is a good person. You need to let him know that he is nothing like you, because no matter how much Aquaman and everyone else around him tells him that, he can't hear it. The only thing he sees every time he looks in the mirror is his father's reflection, and he strives every single day not to be his father, not to let the world see him as that monster. And it may be the one and only thing to pull Jackson Hyde away from this path of destruction and despair, because this guilt, it is going to continue to eat him alive. That eventually, the only thing he will see is his father. And the only thing everyone else will see is the same thing. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you have not yet, do me a favor. Hit that sub button. Hit that notification bell. Make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And until the next breakdown.